Hey guys, this is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be helping I see Daniel find his personality type. So Daniel, we'll just be asking you a series of questions. This is all about you, and from how you answer the questions, we'll try to find your best fit type. With that, you can do whatever you want. Um, if you feel like that doesn't fit you, um, you can, do more investigations and stuff. But we'll do our best here. Okay.
Okay.
Um, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name is Daniel. I'm a truck driver. Um, I've been into personality for a while now, but I've had a difficult time trying to pin down exactly what my personality type is. 'Cause I can see bits and pieces of my own personality in many of the different personality stereotypes. So it's been hard to pin it down. I've been typed twice before,
Mhm.
and
Please don't
I
tell us
just
the
figured,
answers. Don't tell us the answers.
yeah, I won't. I won't. I've been typed before twice, but I just want to. I just feel like if I on each of my typings, it's you're going to see a certain side of me, and my concern is that if you see only one aspect of myself, you might think I'm one way, but then if I'm typed by somebody else, I'll see a different aspect and be typed a completely different way. So I figured I'd get typed a couple different times and basically uh, triangulate the typings to see if I can get a common answer amongst everybody,
Hmm.
or at least something similar enough anyway.
Okay. So, what we do here is we follow a system. I don't think a lot of the practitioners out there actually follow a system. So we look for things like direct versus informative, stuff like that, and we use those metrics to kind of figure out exactly where you are, especially and combined with cognitive functions and stuff. So that allows us to eliminate types faster or slower, depending on what it is. We try to stay consistent. That's what we try to do. We try to stay consistent, and like we said, we don't force a type on anyone. Um, it's all for your information. So I guess that is what got you in the type. So what actually got you into personality stuff?
I was bored one day and I was scrolling through YouTube and I came across a video that said, INFJ, the world's most rare personality type. Is this you? And so I had to go check it out because why not? I was like, well, no, obviously it's not me because, I'm just a regular guy, but whatever, let's check it out. So I checked it out and of course it is me because you know how, online INFJ stereotypes are. It applies to literally anybody.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I mean, I had no idea what this even was.
Hmm.
So anyway, as I kept looking at INFJ videos, it turned into there was other types of personalities, and eventually I figured out that there were 16 of them, and then 16personalities.com, and et cetera, et cetera. The uh, stereotypical way of most people get into it. Anyway, yeah, I took a bunch of online tests, and it got pretty interesting. And then I realized I probably wasn't an INFJ, so I decided to get typed, and so I did. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I just
Okay. Did
It's like I couldn't quite pin it down because nobody has like standardized definitions of what anything is. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm. So, what do you think has been helpful for you about type? And what do you think has not been helpful?
it's been helpful because I can understand other people.
Hmm.
Um, I can figure out other people's personality types much better than I can figure out my own. But when I'm interacting with a person, I can now see what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it. Uh, my ex-wife is, I'm pretty certain, is an ISFJ, and I never understood why she would do what is now quite obviously all of these SI type things. She would want everything in the same physical location all the time. She would want she when we first got together, she gave me this small object, and she said it was the most important thing in the world to her, and she gave it to me, and I looked at it, I was like, okay. I mean, it had no value, but it was just this little thing, so I took it and I cared for it. But it meant nothing to me. Like, I don't understand how this whole thing is super important.
Mhm.
Well, it turns out, she has all this emotional stuff attached to it. And so when she gave it to me, it was literally like the equivalent of her giving me a literal piece of herself, a little piece of her own mind or heart, whatever, and just things like that. And I never understood it. It just seemed absolutely ridiculous to me. But that's how she expressed her love, at that time. So being able to understand things like that make a lot of sense to me. It makes more sense why people will be ridiculously irrational. And I don't know, some things that people do or say just make no freaking sense, but they do. But they do these things anyway. So understanding personality has helped me a lot as far as my ability to uh, figure out what in the world it is they're trying to do and why they're doing it.
Yeah, dope, man. Dope, dope. Man, different for me. For me, it just allowed me to, once I understood type, it was like it took a lot more pressure off me against other people. I felt as though I was forcing my vision on a lot of people and trying to force people into my path. Um, but what type allowed me to do was say, hey, there's 16 ways to do this, or 16 ways that somebody can arrive at different answers. And that allowed me to stop being so judgmental. It allowed me to be a lot more open. Um, and another thing is, when I find out your type, you can figure out your weaknesses and things that may become problems for you in your life. So one of the things for my type would be understanding how other people feel. One day I sat down and, to be honest, I've known my mother my entire life and I couldn't figure out exactly how she felt about anything. The only thing I could say was that I know she loved me because she would only do X, Y, and Z because she loved me. But I couldn't tell exactly or spot how she felt. Um, but that's the thing, you know. If you know, then you can work on that. Another thing is just taking care of my health and things like that. There's been times where a buddy of mine has wheeled me into the hospital from like just going and going, where I had to spend like 2 days in the hospital. That's another problem of my personality type, being an ENTJ. So understanding that, if now, if I feel as though my body says no, I say no. That's it. Like if I'm feeling that, that's a no. There's been times where I probably would have pushed through that. Um, and that, like I say, life is like a candle. You only get one candle, you could burn that bitch on both ends. So, and then trying to foster better relationships and with people with FE. So I think about it as a perspective of myself instead of like others. Like you said, yours is kind of like focused on others. It's kind of cool, different.
I uh I have a hard time seeing me
Mm-hmm.
because when I see me, I see myself as a variety of aspects of myself. It's like I could be 100,000 different things, and as I'm interacting with you, I'm not showing you 100,000 different things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only showing you a fraction of who I am at any given moment, right? I mean, like I have a girlfriend. Well, my girlfriend sees certain aspects of me that you are never going to see, if you know what I mean, right? And that's the way it should be. So as I'm interacting with a person, I'm only showing. I'm not sure how to put it, but it's like this whole thing is me, and it kind of like shifts around, and I can show different parts.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever part is like face towards you is the part that you're going to see. But there's stuff on the sides that you won't see as well, and stuff in the back that you're just not going to see at all. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I could shift the whole thing around and show you a side of me you've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not being incongruent with who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being me, but I'm just showing you different aspects of myself. And sometimes aspects of myself are a little difficult to see as well because my brain when viewing my own brain is like looking at like a castle in the dark, in the fog at night. And like I'm on a hill looking out at this castle, and I can kind of see through the window a little bit on what's going on in there, but it's kind of hard to see everything. You know, it's kind of vague, and you know, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I mean, like I know that there's plenty of stuff that is going on, but it's kind of hard to see exactly what specifically is going on because much of what goes on inside of my brain is how do I put it? It all goes on like unconsciously, and it's like there's this huge vast machine that's doing things, and it spits up little bits of pieces of information at a time to my conscious brain. So my brain only has access consciously to, you know, parts of myself instead of the whole thing all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me. So, you know, whatever that is.
Can
But
I ask you a question? Do you feel as though you show different aspects of yourself to people depending on what the other person wants or based on a certain situation?
my brain is constantly asking two questions. What do I want? How do I get it? That's that's just about everything all the time. So anytime, okay, well, let's take our current conversation right now. My brain right now is trying to actually judge all the words coming out of my mouth, every physical gesture that I'm making, the tone of voice that I have, because my brain is trying to figure out what do I want out of this conversation. What do I? My brain is trying to figure out what do I want you to
Mhm.
tell me that I am. So it's like my brain is trying to control you to get what I want coming out of your mouth. So if I use certain words versus other words, that'll manipulate your perspective of me, and so I'll end up getting what I want.
Mhm.
Because to me, every single thing in the world is a building block, right? It's like a little Lego. Every like what what you're going to tell me at the end is going to be a combination of every single word coming out of my mouth is going to be one Lego block on top of the other, and they're all going to be stacked together, and it's going to end up as a single conclusion in your mind that you're going to send back to me. So my brain is trying to figure out what your brain is going to be building, so that I can anticipate that, and I'm trying to control everything all the time. It's like everything is a construction project almost.
Mhm.
So
Okay, that's pretty cool, man.
quite sure how to put it. It's kind of hard to.
So if we had to ask you, what do you think is something that uh holds you back the most?
What holds me back. As long as I have a North Star, so to speak, in my head, I have a like a desire for the future or an idea, a vision, whatever you want to call it for the future, then I will always know in this moment what I need to do. Because no matter what, because once that decision in the future has been made, then every single decision from that backwards to now has already been made, even if I don't know specifically what that choice is, because once that choice is as I'm moving towards it, it's automatically be asking the question is, does this get me closer to my goal or not? Does this get me closer to what I want or not? My desire. There's this thing that I want. And most of my life I've had that. And every time I have that, I'm good to go because I always know what to do. But
Mhm.
there's about a 10-year period of my life where some things got screwed up. I was aiming for something that I wanted. It got thrown off and I didn't get it. And I got completely lost for a while. So anytime I don't have that North Star type of thing to work towards, then I'm completely lost because I have no idea what to do in the moment. Then I'll just do whatever the moment, whatever shows up in the moment, I'll just do whatever just kind of seems right. And it will inevitably end up being the wrong decision. because I have nothing to work towards. I have nothing to aim for. So that screws me up. And if I have to interact with other people that have contradicting desires, like I have one desire, I'm going for something, but somebody else comes in and they want something else. Now, if it's somebody that I don't know or don't care about, whatever, I don't care. It's not a big deal. But if there's somebody I do care about, a family member or a close friend or something, or significant other who comes in and they're like, hey, I want this completely other thing, that kind of throws me off, because then it's like a battle of priorities. It's like, well, there's this thing that I want in the future that I'm aiming for, and I already know the correct decision to move towards that. But at the same time, there's this other person over here that I also value, and it's like, like how do I match up the two? Like, figure out how do I figure out how to handle this moment where there's a conflict of these two extremely high priorities?
Can I ask you
You
a
know?
question? When
Yeah.
you're doing that and you're setting on that situation, are you just the best thing you're trying to simulate is a win-win situation there? Win-win for both you and that person?
No,
No.
I don't think so, because it's that, okay, like my significant other, okay,
Mhm.
my ex-wife,
Mhm.
I had something that I was aiming towards, and I wanted this. There's a certain goal I was aiming towards,
Mhm.
and she didn't want me to do it. So there's
Mhm.
this thing that I want, and she didn't want it. So here I am conflicted between, trying to make my significant other happy because I care about her, and me trying to go for this other goal right there. And that was one of the problems that, she and I had in that relationship.
Mhm.
So it's not that I'm trying to make a win-win. It's like, I value two things. It's like, I value this bar of gold over here, and I value this, bar of silver over here. They're both value to me, but which one? And if I can only have one or the other in this particular moment, it's like, well, which one do I have? I mean, if okay, um, you have a favorite food, I assume, right?
Mhm.
Hmm. Okay, well, if you are in a house and your house is burning to the ground, and you have your favorite plate of food over here, and then your children, and you can only save one, well, it's either your favorite plate of food or your children. Well,
Mhm.
there's an extreme difference in the value. So obviously, you're going to go straight for your kids and let your favorite plate of food burn. Who cares, right?
Mhm.
But it's like the idea of, like, if you're in the same house, and you have two kids, you have one kid on this side of the house, the other kid on this side of the house, you don't have enough time to save one. It's like, well, which one do you save? Because they're both extraordinarily valuable to you. They both mean a whole lot to you. So which one do you go after? And that's the type of thing that screws me up, is when I have these conflicts of values, of these things that I care about.
Mhm. So how often do you find yourself in those situations?
Thankfully, not very often, because there's very few people that I care enough about to be in that type of situation.
Mhm.
There's pretty much, I mean, for the most part, it's pretty much only my significant other or nobody for the most part.
Mhm. Okay.
So I mean,
What's 3 words someone would say about you?
um, strategic, Danny Land. I'll explain that in a second. And very hardworking, and at the same time lazy. So I guess that's 4. Uh, my girlfriend um, freaks out because my brain will strategize everything. The other day, she and I were we were out having a walk, and we were going to throw a frisbee, we were going to kick a ball, and she had these water guns, and there's 2 like pistol water guns, and we were squirting at each other. And so I know that she's an ESFP,
Mhm.
so I know that she's going to be reacting emotionally in the moment. So what I decided I was going to do is I was going to have her run out of water in her gun, and then I was going to be the only one with water left, and then I was just going to bombard her with water at the end. So what I did is I would squirt her one time with I would squirt her one time with a single shot of water, and then she, being who she is, she'd score like 5, 6, 7, different shots of water back at me. And, I would do that type of thing, again, and, you know, get her, the difference in the volume, because she'd be using up a lot more than I would. Anyway, long story short, by the time I ended up, she figured out what was going on eventually, and I explained to her what my thinking was, and she freaked out about it. So that's strategic. Danny Landis, she says that I'm not present most of the time in the physical moment. And based on the fact that she is so completely attached to the physical moment, she can't stop herself. So to her, I'm always gone. I don't feel like I'm gone that much, but according to her, I'm off in Danny land. Um, I'm extremely hardworking when it comes to getting the thing that I want, whatever I'm working towards. But she says that I'm lazy because I don't pay as much attention to like the everyday, day-to-day tasks, things that are just your average day-to-day type thing. And to some degree, I guess that's true. But, to another degree, I mean, after you're working a 16-hour day, I mean, sometimes you just don't want to go home and do the laundry, things
So
like that.
when you have regrets in life, what do you think they're centered around?
Regrets?
Yeah.
When I made a poor decision that hurt someone I care about. That's pretty much it. Everything else, if I make a mistake, it's not a big deal. I can just go back, regroup, and keep moving forward. But if the decision I made hurts somebody I care about, then, that's a problem.
You feel like that happens a lot?
Um, more often than I would like, but it's never intentional. It's just I'm, trying to go after the thing I want to go after, and sometimes without meaning to, it ends up, hurting somebody.
Yeah. How do you know something's true or false? That's a good one.
It's provable. It's you can compare it to something else that you know that is true. So if you have two things that are true, you can compare one truth to the other truth. There are a lot of people that are smarter than me in certain things, and so I just kind of have to take their word for certain things. Like I don't know much about calculus, but if I was to learn calculus, I'd have to go to somebody who knows calculus, and I would have to, assume that all the people who have come before me who do know calculus know what they're talking about. Some things are just verifiable. Just, I mean, you can go out and test them, like what's 1 + 1? It's 2. Well, the concept of that is going to be true no matter who applies it. I mean, you can take, someone in China 2,000 years ago, and 1 + 1 would have equaled 2 back then. I mean, it's true, because if you have a dog who has one bone and he runs across the room and takes a bone from another dog and brings it back to himself, he now has 2 bones. Now he didn't do the math, but it's still 1 + 1 is still equal 2. So I mean, some things are just provable repeatedly. Just over time, you can test it with multiple people.
If we were to say like you went to jail for something, what would it be for?
Either someone pissed me off so bad that I decided that going to jail was worth whatever I was about to do, then that would be a thing. Or protecting someone that I care about, and I knew that it was dumb, you know, to do the thing that I had to do to protect them, but I did it anyway because I care about them. So most likely I would go to jail for some emotional reason. It wouldn't be because I screwed up, it because I knew exactly what I was doing. I understand completely the consequences, and I chose to do it anyway.
So you
How
got
do you
any?
feel? Oh, how do you feel about authority and being told what to do?
For me to respect authority, they have to have two things. They have to be competent and they have to have good intentions. Because if I trust that they have good intentions, then I can trust them, because even if they screw up, I know it wasn't intentional, and I know that they can, we could work together to try to, fix whatever the problem was. And if they're competent, then they actually know what in the world that they're doing. So for me to respect authority, I want both of those things from the authority figure. They have to know what they're doing. They have to have good intentions. If they're competent but they have bad intentions, then I don't trust you. If you have good intentions but you suck at what you do, I mean, I can like you as a person, but I use my competence because you don't have any. But just people in general, most of the time, I have issues with authority because usually they either have bad intentions or they're stupid. I mean, if I show up and I know what I'm doing faster than you do, better than you do, then how in the world am I supposed to trust you? And a lot of authority figures that I know, their intentions are purely for themselves. They're trying to they're going to do what they want to do because it helps them with their own bonus at the end of the year, not because it helps me or helps the job or anything. But I don't have a problem with authority in and of itself. I don't think authority is necessarily right or wrong. I think that if you're going to have a structure in society, there has to be a hierarchy of some type. There have to be rules of some type. There has to be authority somewhere, but the authority needs to be competent and they have to have good intentions. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Because if you are incompetent or you have bad intentions, then it's my job to protect myself from you or to do my job regardless of what you said. And I have to now protect myself.
So what are some things that cause you to feel stressed out?
Probably when things don't go my way. If I have an idea of how things are supposed to go and things get thrown off, then there's a problem. I kind of go by the idea that my environment is a product of me rather than me being a product of my environment. So if the environment, whether it's a person, place, situation, whatever it is, it tends to rebel, so to speak, and just throws things off, that stresses me out.
Okay. All right, Shirley, I'm ready to go ahead and finish this one.
Okay.
All right, man. You were actually pretty tricky, man. You were actually tricky. You had us going for a little bit here. Very early on, you were very hammering the understanding part. So we thought maybe you were TIFE, but then we kept going and we really figured out that you were TE. So what we got was you're direct, okay? That means you're specific, concise, to the point. Everything you say is pretty bullet point. It's just there, man. You just take it or leave it, okay? Let me get into this. Your wife told you were hard. I mean, you said she said you're strategic. Strategy generally tends to come from systematic people. A certain genre usually is attached to strategy. That's going to be the NTs. Hardworking. Okay, and lazy. Those are the things. And then she says you're not in the present or the physical moment much. So that's going to be more of a abstract person. Okay. They're not gonna be in the physical moment, as in the ESFP, like you talked about her. She's in the moment, okay. She owns the moment. She's SE hero, okay. You talked about doing things to get an outcome. Like your brain is always calculating what do I want and how do I get it. Okay, so you're looking at an outcome and you're figuring out a way to force things to get what you want. Almost like it's that's just how your brain thinks, and you're calculating. All right, if I do this, do that, then I'll get this outcome in end. So your outcome, you're direct. You're NI user, SENI user, and then you talked about the value of things, right? When you're measuring the values, right? And you're like, well, how do I value something that's very close? That is a low FI type of thing. As in someone who has a higher FI, they would know exactly what they value at any specific time. And then the way you were talking about it, it comes as in a lower FI. So that's coming in a third to fourth slot. Okay. That's gonna be the child or the inferior. But based on what we already have here, direct outcome, you can only be in charge. And with that FI inferior there coming out, that would automatically there just have enough to point you to ENTJ. You said when I make a poor decision that that actually affects how other people feel. That was one of the things that was very important to you. And then I asked you, how often does that happen? You said more than you like. Okay, so that shows that, remember when I was talking about earlier about trying to figure out how like other people feel and stuff, and that's just not something we're naturally good at. Okay, when we're in a situation, we look at what's the most effective thing to do, what's the best move on the board, and the best move on the board don't have no damn feelings attached to it. So you can actually lose a lot of people that way. There's been a lot of times where I've done that, and people like, yo, hold up. And I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, bro, this is the best move. You wasting my time, you know? So then a different side of myself starts coming out. Because then I'm trying to get them to buy into what my vision is. And you know how that goes. When you talked about knowing what was true or false, you were relying on more of the experts. Like you were saying, like, okay, I'm not good at calculus, so I'm gonna go to somebody who's good at calculus. So you're more relying on other people's thoughts instead of your own, and being okay with that. You know who's good at set thing, and you're gonna go to them. You're not gonna waste time. You know, a lot of people will try to figure it out themselves. So that's more of a TFTE approach to things. The T is attached to FI on the axis. And then you talked about like they have to be knowing what they're talking about. That's more of a TE again because that's outside knowing what they're talking about. Math, when you were doing your math equation, it all went back to being an outcome again. It's very outcome driven. It was like, even if it was 2,000 years ago, 1 + 1 = this, but it's the same outcome. You said going to jail is worth it, or protecting someone I care about or someone that I have to protect. That's going to be big on that Enneagram 8 there. And that's going to be TFI well because it's something you care about. And you said I do understand the consequences, so you are aware of them. You just chose to make that decision. So that means that you do have consequential awareness, which means you do have NE somewhere. Okay. ENTJs have NE in the 6th spot, so it's actually relatively strong as long as they hold off of the NI sometimes. Competence and good intentions. Obviously, you're ENTJ. You really care about them intentions. People's intentions freak us the fuck out. Like, long as like you don't like set that alarm off on me, you're good. But if you set that fucking alarm off, I'm on your ass. Like, but that's more of an any critic thing. But the competency is the same thing. Like, you gotta like, don't have me better than you. Like, if I'm better than you, dude, I'm probably not listening to shit you got to fucking say about anything. Like, that's just flat out. Like, I'm just like, your opinion doesn't matter. Like, I have to know that you have somewhat of a brain and I can actually rely on you. Because if not, you're dead. Like, there's no decision to be made. Like, and I think that's a big problem with some of my friends. Like, they want a particular say in something, and I'm like, bro, you're a dummy. Like, you're a dummy. You won't get opinion. You get what we give you, okay? Or like you can put that into certain other aspects like relationships and shit. Sometimes your significant other ain't that real smart, you know, and then but they still want to say it. But my brain just checks you out, man. If it knows like you don't know what the hell you talk about, you're dead. But also you said that, like that was more of a pragmatic approach as well. You talked about the structures and hierarchies of things. Like there always has to be something like that. That's more of a TE approach and structure and systematic. Um, and you say you really have a problem when things don't go your way. So it's like more of an NI way. So you're seeing a vision for something, you're casting out, you're not getting it. And you said my environment is a product of me. That's an Enneagram 8, 100% core value there. So with that being said, man, you're an ENTJ, Enneagram 8, the same as me.
Okay.
What were you getting in the other typings?
The first time I was typed, he typed me as ESTP or ENTP, but he thought ESTP, he couldn't figure it out between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that ESTP was more likely because my job as a trucker requires a certain amount of SE. So he just thought that was more likely, but he pretty much couldn't decide between the two.
He just
What?
took your career, so he just took your fucking career and decided what you were based off your career. I think
He asked me, he decided that I was TI because he asked me a couple of questions about, like, you know, who is my father's grandson? Well, that's you.
Yeah.
And he decided that that type of question was a TI type question. Well, to me, that's not really logic. The way I look at it, that's just an imagination game. Okay, who is my father's grandson?
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's just how well you visualize something. It's not really logic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who is my father's son?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a series of levels. Is really all it is. And so he decided that because I could do that, that I was TI.
Mm-hmm. Well, like we said early on, man, you were hitting TI early on, but we had to really sit down and listen to you and listen to where you were going at. As in the ESTP, wouldn't be talking about shining a light through brain. The whole that was all abstract what you were talking about there, because your brain is outside of the five senses there. Sorry to break it to you, but it's outside of the five senses there. When you were talking about that and going through that and going through like how that is and like taking it to a outer worldly experience. That was all abstract there, man. And
second
in being able to like strategize well, I don't know too well about that. But keep going.
the second time I was typed by Joyce Ming and Denzel Mensa at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided that I was an ENTJ. So
Good job, Troy.
So you went to the, let me guess, because you said that if this, then that bullshit, you went to that one guy, the old guy.
Host Eric, talking with famous people.
Yeah. Well, dude, I just feel like that's a stupid question to test TI, really. I mean, you really got to get, and you got to like listen to him. Like, off when we were talking to you, dude, you said a lot of TI shit early on, but then as we kept going, it's like it kind of like flew off. Like you could see where your priority lied. Maybe you've done a lot of things that require you to be better with quick TI, but I think your priority isn't to 100% understand things. I think it's the first thing you want to do is make it work. What gets things done. Not understanding something. A TI user fundamentally wants to understand something. So they want to take it apart. They want to work down to it. I don't give a damn about that as long as it works.
The way I look at it is, if I'm going to be interacting with something quick, then I just needed to make it work. It doesn't matter. Like if I were to set you down with a computer system that you've never dealt with before, and one time in your life you needed to complete one operation, I gave you a step-by-step manual, you're not going to sit there and try to figure out the entire system. You're just going to go step by step until the whole thing's done, because you only have to do it one time and then you're done. So who cares? Or if that's the only operation you will ever have to do, then why? But if you're going to be interacting with the system in a variety of different ways over time, and this is your job, then obviously you're going to want to understand how the whole system works. But you understand it. You're wanting to understand it, not so much just because you're curious necessarily, but you want to be able to understand how the whole system works. So anything that is just thrown at you, you'll know what to do, and you'll be able to just do what needs to be done.
So a big thing about NTs is competency. That's a core need of ours is to have competency for things, and to try to master something. So that's falling more into that realm. Like, but if, like you said, if it's a one-time use, dude, I'm just gonna try to figure out whatever I got to do to get it done, and that's it. And I'm chucking it away. But if it's something that I have to learn, I'm all about it. You know, I'm all
There's
about
there's an audiobook I listened to the other day. It's called What I Learned Losing $1 Million.
it. Okay, I'll listen to that.
I think you would actually enjoy that book. I mean, I think you're into like investing or trading or something like that. I remember hearing something about that in one of your videos.
Mhm.
Well, it's sort of about that. This guy, I'll be
Author
shocked out of my mind if he's not an ENTJ.
do you know who the author is?
Um,
Oh, you don't. You got SI Trickster.
Jim
Jim Rome or some shit?
Jim Paul or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Mhm.
I don't have the best memory in the world for
Yeah,
specific details.
yeah, me either, dude. What other books do you listen to? Like, what are your like? Just give me top three most influential books for you. So I can
Um,
put that into my list.
Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, Reminiscence of a Stock Operator.
Wait,
Uh,
trading in my zone.
yep.
Okay, next one.
Reminiscence of a Stock Operator,
Listen,
Edwin Lefrere or Refer, something like that. I love that book. And How I Made $2 Million in the Stock Market,
two.
Nicholas Darvis.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this. What are your thoughts on stock market right now?
Uh, I primarily have a trader mindset more than an investing mindset.
Mhm.
So to me, okay, there are only 6 states that the market can be in, right? It doesn't matter what market you're in. There's only 6 states you can be in. One is it's going up,
Mhm.
one is going sideways, and two, it's going down. That's it. I don't care what time frame. I don't care if you're working the 5 minute. I don't care if you're working the weeklies, the monthlies. It doesn't matter. There's only 3 things it can do: up, down, or sideways, right? And it'll either go up with low volatility or it'll go up with lots of volatility.
Mhm.
Same thing sideways, lots of volatility or very little, and then same thing going down. So those are the only 6 states. There's only 2 things that will do anything the stock market. Doesn't matter whether you're talking bonds or stocks or futures or options or anything, right? There's buying pressure, which makes it go up, and
Mhm.
selling pressure, which makes it go down.
Mhm.
If you have greater pressure going up, it's going to go up. If you have greater pressure going down, it's going down, right? And it does not matter what your particular belief is.
Mhm.
Okay, it doesn't matter whether you're a trend follower. It doesn't matter if you're a value investor. It doesn't matter, right? A trend follower is going to get into a stock that's trending up. Why is
Mhm.
it trending up? Because there's buying pressure.
Mhm.
Okay, well, you have someone else who is a value investor. Well, they buy it when they think it's below value.
Mhm.
But are you going to buy it just because it's below value? No, probably not. You're going to buy it because it's low value and going up. Why is it going up? Buying pressure. So to me, it doesn't really matter what particular belief you have about the markets, because at the end of the day, you're trading or
Mhm.
investing, whatever you want to call it, 2 things:
Mhm.
a person's emotions, and that's if you're doing short term, and you're trading someone else's worldview or their perspective about a thing.
Mhm.
Because if you're buying into a stock, well, you're buying it from somebody else who's selling. So it's a conflict of perspective. So it, I don't particularly care what the um, what people say about it as far as their personal beliefs about it,
Mhm.
because I believe that the price action is going to tell you what it is.
Mhm.
So if it's going up, it's going up. If it's going down, it's going down.
But
Why
they
is it going
ended
up
up,
or down? Who knows? I
but
mean,
the thing about stocks is that they go up generally over time based off production. They're actually increasing sales, they're beating numbers, and that over time causes the stock to go up. Unless you got like a very emotional stock, like a lot of times, you'll get some of the growth stocks. Sometimes they're not as balance sheets aren't as well as you think, or they're not really producing things, or they're not even fucking profitable, and they'll be going up on pure speculation.
let me ask you something real quick.
Mhm.
If you come across a stock and you've done some valuation on it,
Mhm.
and you think that it's worth approximately, let's say, about $100, and right now it's at $65. It has great earnings, it has great potential, it has a great future, it has, you know, institutional support, and is trending up. Do you think that's a good stock?
Yeah, I think it's a good stock.
Yeah, would you get
That's
into a
right now.
stock like that?
What's the price? What's the price? You said
Oh, 60, yeah, it's $65 at this current moment, but you think it's valued at about 100. Would you get into a stock like that?
hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, there's no thought in my
So,
mind
so why would you get into it?
because of the long-term perspective.
Right,
You
and that's your
basically did the intrinsic
right.
calculation. You basically did the intrinsic calculation of the stock, and you've seen that it's undervalued. So you're going against all the rest of the idiots in the market, and because you did your math, you got long-term horizon. You're gonna make money.
Absolutely, and that is your belief. And because you hold that belief, you put your money into that particular stock, which provides buying pressure, and the buying pressure makes it go up. Is it going up because the sales are going up? Or is it going up because you and a bunch of other people that have a similar idea to you are putting money into it based on your belief to make it go up?
Well, I can argue against that because of the thing is that as the reports come out and the quarterly and the earnings go out, they beat numbers, so they get more buying pressure based off those beating those earnings.
Mm-hmm.
So they're attracting more people. Like, oh my God, they just smashed earnings. Then you're like, oh shit, I need to get into this. This stock's undervalued. It's more about them smashing earnings and less of you buying because they're smashing earnings. Everybody wants to be a part of something that's beating numbers.
Right. And as a trader, right. And as a trader, what I'm doing is I'm taking all of these beliefs, all of these perceptions that people have, I'm basically stripping it down to its most basic mechanical parts. Just basic mechanical parts. Like I really don't care why you would get into. Let's say you're a hedge fund. I don't care why you're getting into it. You're getting into it for whatever your reason is. All I care about is you're getting into it, and because you're getting into it, you're making it go up. And your buying pressure, combined with everyone else believing that good sales equals rising prices, makes you get into it. I really don't care what your belief is. All I care about is you are providing buying pressure, and your actions based on your beliefs make it go up. So the basic mechanical structure of what you're doing is just making it go up. So all I do is sit around and wait for, you know, the big boys to start making something go up, and I can get into it.
I have a question. You know anything about Tesla since you're into trading?
What you supposed to know about Tesla?
I was curious what he thinks that's going to do or not do.
I think this is my thoughts. It's when I can't say the word right, but it's went up so much in the last couple of years that it's only can stall. Let me say that again. It only can stall because the multiple price that it's went up. So when you're looking at a market capitalization, it's very hard for things to, when it gets to a large market cap, to double, triple, or whatnot, and you have to execute a lot of great things. And by saying that, he also has to catch up to that market cap, if you get what I'm saying, because it just grew so fast. Like he's saying, like buying pressure just went into it so much, but now it has to catch up to those earnings. And if you fail any of those earnings, then people are gonna look at you crazy because you've been doing outstanding numbers before. Now, let's say you miss a quarter, or you miss sales, or you miss car production. People are gonna, oh shit, the Tesla ain't doing as good, and then just like he said. But I'll let him give his answer as well.
Well, I don't really care about Tesla as an actual company. I only care about. I mean, I don't trade Tesla. I actually concentrate most of what I do actually on the futures markets more than. Yeah,
That's volatile shit, dude.
Actually, depending on how you do it, futures don't have to be any riskier than stocks.
Yeah.
The only reason why futures are more risky is just because people are trading very, very leveraged. I don't really care, you know, about the fundamentals of Tesla in and of itself, but I would care about the price action of Tesla. So my question to you is, what is your personal objective for getting into Tesla? I mean, you need to know what that is. I mean, are you looking at it, you know, purely fundamentally? And if you're looking at it fundamentally, what's your time horizon? Are you looking over the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years? Because if that's your objective, then that's the mindset you need to have as you invest / trade, whatever you want to call it. But if you're a 5-minute trader, then then you know, you have to take that into perspective. Everything in the world comes down to what is your objective and how do you judge what is the standard by which you will judge your objective? that is the only way that I can even come close to answering your question, because I don't know what your objective is. Because I mean, like I said, I mean, if you're in it for the next 10 years, then you better have a 10-year time horizon, and you better be willing to, you know, deal with all the ups and downs that will inevitably come from that 10-year horizon. But if, you know, you're looking to just make a, a quick trade over the next 5 days, that's an entirely different perspective on the whole thing.
Yeah, mostly that.
Just 5 days?
I can I can get more money by investing my money in other things rather than the stock market. But
I wouldn't put my
for
money
quick short,
then I wouldn't put my money there, because another thing that you'd be running into is taxes. When you trade in and out of stocks like that, under a year time frame, you kind of hit a lot of taxes. Uncle Tom take a lot from you, so it kind of penalizes people for trading, and kind of like gives people a tax benefit for holding things for longer than a year. So when you're trading, you got to be cognitive of that. Yeah.
You have to know what you're good at and what you suck at, because you're gonna be good at something and you're gonna suck at something. I don't know what those things are, but whatever they are, there is something somewhere. Some people are outstanding at buying businesses, a literal actual business, holding it for cash flow and running it themselves. Other people buy a business and have somebody else run it. Well, just because you can buy a business doesn't mean you can run the thing, right? Some people are outstanding at real estate. Maybe you're already a real estate broker or something, you know, so you already know it well. If you don't know it well, don't touch it. You know, I mean, I'm a truck driver. Not everybody can be a truck driver. Well, just because you're a truck driver doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be good at real estate. But you might be an outstanding owner-operator. And if you're really good at owner-operator, you might be able to save up enough money to buy a second truck and put another person in there, and so on and so forth. So whatever your objective is, you need to know specifically what that is, and you have to know what your competence, your area of competence is. If you get outside of that, you're a moron. If you're inside of that, you're really good. Because if okay, Usain Bolt, right? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, the sprinter.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Okay. Is he an outstanding runner?
Yes.
Really? How many marathons does he run?
Oh, I mean,
Exactly. You have to know specifically what objective you're looking at. You have to understand the standard by which you're judging a thing. Because a thing can be really good by one standard, but really, really bad at another standard. So you need to know specifically what your standard is, what your objective is. Otherwise, you failed before you started. How would you know? How will you know what to measure?
Yeah.
How will you know how good you're going to be at the thing?
Yeah, that's pretty. That's really good.
I mean, okay, if you want to be let's say in high school and you really want to join the NFL, are you going to go to basketball camp?
If you really want to go to the NFL, would you go to basketball camp? The question to see, I have a different perspective when it comes to sports and stuff, because I think you should be doing them all. Because if you're doing them all, it gives you the ability to increase your reaction time, and a lot of those skills triangulate to each other, whether people see it or not. If you're asking me, should you go to basketball? It depends on what position you're running, what position you're working. If you're a receiver, I feel like basketball can help you, because it allow you to like jump, react faster to the ball, things like that. But if you're a quarterback, I'd say hell no. You know, depending on the position you want to go in.
Did you know that a baseball player who takes a baseball and throws it just like you would in a game is going to develop neurological efficiency in that movement?
Yeah.
It's actually been proven that if you were to take a weighted ball, say 3 pounds, 5 pounds, and throw that, your body will adapt to throwing that type of ball. And it'll actually make you worse at throwing the baseball, because your body has neurologically adapted to something completely different. So whatever it is you're trying to do, I highly recommend that a person doesn't matter what skill. It could be physical, psychological, whatever. It makes no difference whatsoever. Figure out what it is you're trying to get. Figure out what specifically in the sensory world, what it is you're trying to achieve, and do that. I mean, if you're trying to be a long-term investor, for example, it's a waste of time to try to worry about, the hourly charts. If you're trying to be a really good real estate investor, concentrate on real estate investing until you're so good that you can do that on autopilot, and then go switch into buying businesses or stocks or whatever else it is you're trying to do. Right? I mean, you can have multiple disciplines, but if you're too much of a jack of all trades, you suck at everything.
Yeah, that's the reason why I don't get into real estate. That's specifically why I don't get into real estate, and I just stay in stocks because I have the knowledge of stocks, you know. And
Yep.
outside of that would have me, you'd have to go through the pain. Like there's always the pain of not knowing and then getting good. Like there's no point in doing that when you can just keep driving your expertise up. But sports, I always find it interesting because sports is like basketball and football are so. I would tell anybody like to play all sports because it just gives you you may be able to make connections that nobody else can make just because you're playing other sports, you know. Unless you're able to, you know, go to the best camps in the world, you know, or the best things. But if you're like poor or something, just play all sports, man. It's probably your best way of going about it.
Another session in a few minutes.
Yeah, we got another one. Hey, man, it was a pleasure talking to you. Are you in the group?
Yeah, I'm in the group.
Yeah, definitely, man. I want to see your post, man. Another ENTJ in there, man. It's dope. It's crazy.
Okay.
And I'll be asking you stock stuff in there too, man, because I'm at this point, I'm just chilling and I'm just saving money because I feel like the world's gonna get a lot worse.
Definitely look up the book Trading in the Zone.
Trading in the Zone.
Yeah, if you're gonna be doing any type of trading whatsoever, I highly recommend you look at that.
Yeah, I just do long term right now. I just do long term. I'm always just gonna do long term.
It applies to all kinds of things, but just give it a shot. It'll blow your mind if you haven't looked at it yet.
And I like one of the books I recommend is The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. It was really good. A Walk Down Wall Street by Peter Lynch. That's a really good one as well. Get your mind kind of going. But yeah, we got to go, man. It was a pleasure, man. All right, Daniel. I'll see you in the group.
All right, cool. You have a good one.